If you're involved in an accident and you're hurt, and it's because of somebody else's negligence, well, you may be entitled to money. You may be entitled to be made whole. Now, a lot of people are concerned about going out to get an attorney, and some even try to do it themselves. Some even think, well, if I'm hurt at work, what do I need to do? Maybe it's not my employer's responsibility. Well, we're going to answer those questions and more because Pain Law starts right now. Welcome to Pain Law. I'm Adam Goldfein. This is Richard Griffin of the Griffin Law Firm. If you're hurt and it's somebody else's fault, then you need to be fairly compensated. Often that involves a personal injury claim. Correct. It could involve a workers' compensation claim. Let's say you're hurt at work. Right. It could also involve a disability claim, a Social Security claim. Explain that, because some people are thinking, well, I'm 45. I'm not entitled to Social Security.
Right. Well, Social Security is, of course, when you get to be of retirement age, but there's also Social Security disability. Oh. And that is for anyone who is disabled and unable to work because of an injury, like a car accident, or because of an on-the-job injury, which would be a workers' comp claim or a personal injury claim, but also if you have an illness or a disease.
Okay. So if I had cancer, I could get disability?
You can. You
wow.
can. In fact, there's a lot of factors that go into whether you're going to be able to get Social Security or not.
Okay. I mean, is it as easy as me just sending in the form and getting a check?
Well, I encourage everyone who feels like they're unable to work because of an injury or illness to go ahead and apply. You know, you don't even need to, that's usually I say call me first. Right. You can call me and I'll be glad to talk to you, but in Social Security, go ahead and apply, get the process started. 99 times out of 100, unfortunately, you're going to get denied. You're going to be told no.
All right.
But you don't give up. You don't stop there. You go ahead and call us at that point.
So when they get no, when the government says no, Richard says yes.
That's correct.
Okay, so give me some reasons why they might say no and how you could change it from a no to a yes.
Okay. One is that if you are younger than 50, it is very difficult. And it doesn't mean you can't, and we certainly have gotten Social Security disability for plenty of people that are younger than 50. But that is one of the most common reasons why you get denied, especially in that first round before you appeal. The reason why is there's actually a different definition for disabled in Social Security if you're younger than 50. If you can do sedentary work and you're younger than 50, then you're not going to be eligible unless there are other conditions. A lot of times I say that and then I have to back up and I have to say, well, if you miss a lot of days from work each month because of your injury or illness, if you have to prop up your feet or sit down.
And so these are all the fact-specific things you're going to make an argument on behalf of the claimant.
Correct.
So you're going to be able to push it forward. So let me give you an example. Okay. So if somebody says, well, I'm disabled, but I am trying to do the right thing and I'm holding down a job, does that mean I now am excluded from disability?
We have been able to get Social Security disability for people even when they are attempting to do a job. It does make the argument much harder because you're doing a job. But a lot of times it shows very good faith that you are trying your best, and that's what you need to do. You need to try. But if you can't, then we've been able to convince judges that you're doing your best, but it's not working, and that job is not going to be sustainable.
What if you're highly educated or highly skilled?
Even harder.
Okay.
As you can imagine, what they're looking for typically is someone who is not going to be able to find a job in the U.S. economy. If you have a big education, you're highly educated, you've got a lot of office skills, you're going to be able to do a lot more jobs in the U.S. economy, office jobs, for example.
But you have to be back at your old pay? I mean, what if I'm a surgeon and I get paid a lot of money, but my hand is hurt, and I can no longer perform at that level? What happens?
Social Security is not there to compensate you for a disability that doesn't take you off work.
Okay.
So if you're not going to be out of work projected for at least a year or more, Social Security disability is not for you. Now, workers' comp, if you have a situation where you're injured and you can't go back to work, that is a scenario where you could be entitled to benefits, temporary partial disability benefits, if you used to be a professional doing this and now you can't do that.
So let me just kind of circle it around so people can understand that we have at least at a minimum 3 different potential pockets of money.
Right.
We have a personal injury claim, right?
Correct.
So there may have been somebody that caused the injury,
right,
or the owner of the car, or anybody else associated with the connection of that injury.
Right.
You have workers' compensation, which may also come into play. So we have the personal injury, then we have workers' comp.
Right.
And then we have a third level, potentially, of disability. And you're looking at how they all intersect and play with one another.
Right. Sometimes you just have one claim, but by making one phone call to me at 877-PAIN-LAW, it gives me an opportunity to talk to you about your case, find out the facts, and see if you have a personal injury case due to the negligent driver, or due to a slip and fall, or due to a dog bite, or to see if you've got an on-the-job injury because you were doing your job duties and you ended up getting injured. You don't have to prove negligence for that. And if you've got a catastrophic injury in workers' comp or catastrophic injury from a personal injury, that's when Social Security can come into play.
Right, so lots of different factors. So people need to kind of slow down and get the information that they can make a smart decision.
Correct.
And that's what this is all about, is how do you get the information, especially if you're in pain, so you can get the compensation that you deserve. And we're talking about medical, lost wages, compensation for pain and suffering, and each one of these regimes compensate differently.
That's correct.
Right, so it is important for you to get a good understanding of what is your case worth. Richard Griffin is here to help you. You see the phone number, you see the website, take the opportunity and give Richard a call. You're watching Pain Law on CW 69.
I'm attorney Richard Griffin, the legal expert and co-host of the Pain Law Show. How much is my case worth? This is the #1 question asked by people injured at work or in a car accident. Now you can find out for yourself by using our new settlement calculator at 877painlaw.com. Now, knowing the projected settlement value gives you a goal. Hiring our experienced injury attorneys will help you get there. Call the Griffin Law Firm today at 877-PAIN-LAW or visit us at 877painlaw.com to find out how we can make all the difference in your case. After a car accident, you're faced with many difficult decisions. How can you get the medical treatment or even surgery you need? 877-PAIN-LAW can help. How can you pay your bills when you're too injured to work? 877-PAIN-LAW can help. How can you get the settlement that you need and deserve? 877-PAIN-LAW is the answer. I'm attorney Richard Griffin of the Griffin Law Firm. Call me right now at 877-PAIN-LAW so I can talk to you personally and explain how we can make all the difference in your case.